in the last stream, we were working on crafting our first creative item, that being the everlasting guilty pool from Botania. With this, we now have an infinite amount of mana available to us for whatever we want going forward. And I think the very first thing that I'm going to do in today's stream is actually put this everlasting guilty pool to use, because one thing that we did not do right at the end of the last episode is we didn't actually get the time in a bottle, which is kind of the final quest here in the Botania questline. So to get this, it's actually not too difficult, and we definitely did not need to get the creative mana pool to get the time in a bottle. We mostly got the creative mana pool because it is required in order to craft this creative chest, which is the final goal of the pack here. But as for the time in a bottle itself, it requires 1 clock, super easy, and then 4 of the kind of mid-tier Botania runes, those being the Rune of Spring, the Rune of Summer, the Rune of Autumn, and the Rune of Winter. So, first things first, standard issue Minecraft clock is of course super easy to get, and just to be safe, might as well do this for the future. And then as for all of these runes, these are all made using 2 of the basic runes, all of which I think we have in the system. We did get even more of these thanks to our Gaia fights in the last episode. And so water, earth, air, and fire, I think is all that we need. This one requires water and fire, this one earth and air, this one fire and air, and then this one earth and water. That is all fine. So the Rune of Spring requires 3 saplings and 1 wheat. 1, 2, 3. And the wheat is also easy enough. We've only got 1 left, but that is fine. The Rune of Summer requires a watermelon slice, a slime ball, and then 2 sand. Actually, do we have any of these already? We already have the Rune of Spring, so we can knock that one off the list, actually. And then we already have the Rune of Winter as well, so we can knock that one off the list also. So it's really just the Rune of Summer and Rune of Autumn. The Rune of Autumn is 3 leaves, which we do not have, along with 1 spider eye, which we do have. I'll take that. And then I don't think I taught our transmutation table how to make leaves. I didn't. And so we are going to have to plant a tree and do some quick shearing, but that should be fine. And then the Rune of Summer, as we just saw, is a melon slice, along with a slime ball and 2 sand. Let's get that one going real quick. Over here, we'll drop down the melon slice, the slime ball, the 2 sand, along with the Rune of Earth and the Rune of Air. Again, we do get these back, which is very nice indeed. That should happen incredibly quickly thanks to our upgraded Elven Mana Spreader. All we need to get is our Wand of the Forest, which, never mind, we don't have because of the fact that we used it to craft the everlasting guilty pool. So real quick, let's get 3 more living wood twigs, craft those up with any 2 mystical petals, and then from there we should be able to take 1 living rock. We have hundreds of living rock thanks to our crafts at the end of the last episode. Boom and boom. And so now all we need to do is grab ourselves a regular old Minecraft sapling, quickly get this to grow fully, and then if we shear it, I think that is going to be basically everything. So if I do this and sprint, we can then do something like this, and then over here it's 1, 2, 3 leaves with 1 spider eye, along with 1 rune of fire and 1 rune of air. And boom. Nice. Okay, so back over here, I think we should now have basically everything to make the time in a bottle. However, it is actually done once again on the runic altar, which again is quite nice because it means that we don't actually use any of these runes. Nice. So the time in a bottle is a super nifty item that, as you hold it, stores time. And the longer you hold it, the more time is stored, and then you can basically spend that time to make other block entities in the game faster. We'll see how that works later in the episode once we've got a little bit of time stored in here. Unfortunately, you can only have 1 time in a bottle in your inventory at one time. You can hold more, but they just don't do anything. Only 1 of them will actually count up, so you can't hoard, hundreds of them and then use them all to accelerate a ton of machines very quickly. But you can hold 1, and you can use that 1 to make certain machines faster. For example, if I shift right-click on this power pot here, it is now working 2 times faster at the cost of some of that time that we stored in the bottle. And if we had enough, we'd be able to upgrade that to 4x or 8x or 16x, but again, it costs exponentially more power to make those machines exponentially faster. So we're going to hold on to that, just keep it in our inventory for the future. And the first thing now that I'd like to work on in today's stream is upgrading our energy cube here, because right now we've got this tier 7 energy core that is completely full at 2.14 trillion redstone flux. And so right now, our rainbow generator is just sitting here producing 25 million redstone flux per tick, and all of that power is being deleted. So upgrading this, I don't think is going to be as hard as I suspected. What we're going to need is somewhere in the region of 300 to 400 awakened draconium blocks, these guys right here. And to get these, we need awakened draconium ingots, which we can make using this fusion crafting setup from Draconic Evolution. So I'm going to unbookmark everything up here, and I'm going to bookmark this awakened draconium block. Another side benefit to us doing this is that we also do need this fusion crafting setup in order to complete the pack, because right here, the quest for the creative chest requires a draconium chest, and that draconium chest is made using the same fusion crafting setup. So in order to do this, as we just saw, we need a few things actually. We need first a fusion crafting core. If we head back over here, the fusion crafting core, super easy. We need a draconium core with 4 blocks of lapis, 1, 2, 3, 4, and boom, there is our fusion crafting core. Now, in order for this to work, we need pedestals. In this case, if we want to turn 4 blocks of draconium into 4 awakened draconium blocks, we need the wyvern tier of pedestals, and we need 4 on this side and 3 on this side, so a total of 7 pedestals. So if we go ahead and type in wyvern, this is what we're after, the fusion crafting injector. And if we type in fusion crafting injector, you'll see there are 4 tiers of fusion crafting injector, starting at draconium and going all the way up to chaotic. I do believe we have to work our way up through these, because in order to craft the wyvern fusion crafting injector, which is what we need here, we actually have to have the draconium fusion crafting injectors to make these happen. So we're going to start with these. Again, thankfully, pretty straightforward. How many draconium cores do we have in the system? I think the answer is now 0. That is fine. They're super easy to make, and we do now have a ton of draconium, and we can obviously make more with our seeds as well. So we'll get a few of those. It looks like gold is our limiting factor. Let's get just a few stacks of gold from our 2.27 billion EMC and drop that back in the system. And then from there, we'll go ahead and make a bunch of draconium cores. And that should be everything to make at least 7 of these draconium fusion crafting injectors. But this recipe here does require 8, so we'll take 8. And then you've got to remember that in order to actually craft this, we have to convert one of these. So we are going to need, I think, a minimum of 9, but also potentially more going forward as well. So the basic premise here is we place down the fusion crafting core in the center, and then we can place down these fusion crafting injectors around nearby. I don't think it matters specifically where these are, so long as they are within a close enough radius to the fusion crafting core. I'm putting mine 2 blocks away on all 3 sides, and ideally, I would like this one facing in as well. I don't think it really matters. I think they can face up if you want, but I think it's going to be nicer if all of mine are facing the same way. Then each of these does require power. Thankfully, in this pack, the flux points do have an EMC value, and so what we can do is just go ahead and put down flux points onto each and every one of these. And one thing that's going to make our lives a little easier here is if we get a flux configurator. Let me quickly see if that's not something that we can craft fairly easily. This thing right here, it is super easy to craft. The idea behind this is that we can go ahead and open one of these, click select a network, select GOC real power, and then from there, if we go ahead and shift right click on this flux plug, we can then just right click on all the rest, and it's going to copy that configuration to every other flux plug. Now that all of these have power, if we want to get 7 of the wyvern fusion crafting injectors, which I'll bookmark, we need diamonds, we need draconium cores, we need draconium blocks, and we need wyvern cores, which do require nether stars. Again, right now we should have a bunch of nether stars backed up in here. We do indeed, might as well take those, and I'm pretty sure that we still have more nether stars from the last time I did that as well. We do. So the only thing I think we're going to be missing really is draconium, but we do actually have a ton of draconium blocks here from when we crafted up the first energy core, and so this should actually be fine. We've got 44 draconium cores here, which is more than enough. Let's go ahead and craft up at least 7 wyvern cores here, and then we'll take the rest of the draconium cores out. Again, that is going to be enough because that's enough cores for 8 wyvern fusion crafting injectors, and we only need 7. Then we need 7 draconium blocks, so we've got those, and then we just need a ton of diamonds, which we can just grab, I guess, out of our transmutation tablet. And so once we have everything we need, I think it's just a case of putting everything in. Now you'll see that when we look at these on the right hand side, by default, this block is set to stack mode. If I shift right click, it changes to single item mode, which I think is what I want, because if you leave it in stack mode and I try and put the diamond in, it's going to put a full stack of diamonds in, which is great if you're trying to do multiple of the same craft. But if you don't have enough items, like for example, I've only got 16 of these draconium cores, I don't have enough draconium cores to put 2 stacks into 2 different fusion crafting injectors. And so it might be okay for diamonds, but what I'm going to do instead, I'm just going to take the items out of here, which we can do by right-clicking, and then in single item mode, it will just take 1 diamond. So for now, we'll set all of these to single item mode. We'll make sure we've got 4 diamonds in, 2 draconium cores, 1 wyvern core, and 1 block of draconium. Is that right? Yes, that is correct. We just need to actually pick up this fusion crafting injector, because this one here is going to go in the center, like that. It's now ready to craft. We can click craft, and that is going to start delivering power to all of these fusion crafting injectors. And once this gets to 100%, we should see the craft begin. We then get this cool animation, and it is going to take a few seconds to actually do the crafting, but once it is done, we should have our first of 7 wyvern fusion crafting injectors. Nice. People are asking if the limit on the flux plugs is the problem here. We can go ahead and disable limit. I don't think that's the problem, because you'll see here it only costs 32,000 RF. By the way, there are multiple different units here. They're all the same. OP is the same as FE, which is the same as RF, which is the same as IF. They're all the same power source. They're all convertible 1-to-1. So this only requires 32,000 FE. And so I don't think the 800,000 FE per tick limit is causing a problem here. But just to be on the safe side, I will go ahead and disable the limit on all of these. And basically now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up one of these fusion crafting injectors, swap it out for the wyvern one that we have here. We're going to put this one in, and then we're going to do the same again. 1, 2, 3, and 4 with 2 of these, 1, 2, 1 of these, and 1 of those. And then we're going to click craft. Now, I don't think that we can accelerate the charging phase here. However, once we get into the crafting phase, I think we can utilize our time in a bottle to make it go just that little bit faster. You'll see what I mean in just a second once we get to 100%. Here, this one is already quite fast, but if I shift right click with my bottle, we can make this even quicker, and we could make it even faster still, but again, it's not that fast already. And so, yeah, I guess now, really, we're just going to go ahead and do this a few more times until we have all wyvern fusion crafting injectors. So it turns out you can actually shift click in the recipe here, which is super nifty. If we were to go ahead and put down this injector, back over here, we can just shift click in. So you click in JEI, then click move items and craft, and it will take the items out of your inventory and place them into the crafting injectors automatically, which is super nifty. All right, so this right here is crafting injector number 7. And so we can get rid of this one right here. And we should now have enough of these tier 2 crafting injectors to get our first awakened draconium block. We just need that dragon heart, which thankfully we should have in our system here. You get this when you fight the end dragon, it just drops it on the ground. And so now, if we once again use the shift click method, we can go ahead and move these items in. It does say no valid recipe, and it's not taking the items out of my inventory. That's because I don't have enough of the draconium cores. That is my bad. Let me go ahead and craft up a few more of those. We need 6 of these. Fantastic. And back over here, now we should be able to do something like this and craft. And yeah, once that's done, we should have our first awakened draconium block, at which point we can then craft that down into awakened draconium ingots, and then we should be able to use those to make awakened draconium seeds, which we can then use to get a ton of awakened draconium. And I'm being told by the Twitch chat that we need hundreds of awakened draconium blocks, as well as a lot more draconium as well, just regular old draconium, because unlike this tier 7 powerball that we have, this one is kind of all redstone blocks on the inside with an outer layer of draconium. The tier 8 ball is all draconium on the inside with an outer layer of awakened draconium. So we'll take this, we'll craft these down. Unfortunately, they don't have any MC value, which would have made our lives far too easy. Then let's go ahead and grab some insanium essence. We do need 4 in total. Thankfully, of course, we do have insanium growing over here, and we have a few stacks of insanium essence ready to go. And then over here, we can do 4 insanium essence. 1, 2, 3, and 4 with 4 awakened draconium. And then we just need the one prosperity seed base. Whack that in the center. And boom. That's going to get us our first awakened draconium seed. And so, much like we did last time, chat, I think our best course of action here is going to be to retire the terrestrial seeds here and continue to harvest the awakened draconium essence here, utilizing our backpack upgrade that can hold up to 1,000 items per slot, continuing to expand out, putting down more and more awakened draconium seeds until we have enough awakened draconium to make just a staggering amount of awakened draconium blocks. Unfortunately, much like the Nether Star seeds, this one would usually require an awakened draconium crux beneath it. You can see that in the top left there. And so whilst we can grow it, it's actually not going to give us any of the seeds. For that, we are going to have to use the power pots here. So what I might do actually is I might go ahead, steal one of these power pots. We do now have, finally, enough EMC to upgrade this to the tier 3 power pot, which is very expensive. We need some triple compressed emeralds and some triple compressed redstone, but both of those we should be able to get out of our transmutation tablet. Let me get just a bunch of emeralds, see about crafting as many emerald blocks as we can, and then seeing if we can't craft up some double compressed emerald blocks, and then ideally, yes, look at that, at least one, oh no, that's one double compressed emerald block. We need to put that away and then craft a couple of those to get at least one triple compressed emerald block, at which point we can then go and put all these back, put you in there. We need 6 of these triple compressed emerald blocks. And then we need to do the exact same thing again here, this time with redstone blocks. We already have double compressed redstone blocks, so this time it's just a case of crafting 9 of those into a triple compressed redstone block, and then we just need 2 of those. And I think that's everything for the tier 3 power pot. It is. So now we can put this back down over here. We can then put in the awakened draconium seed, and what we should now be able to do is, of course, make sure that's connected up to power. And so now what we should be able to do, if we want, is accelerate this using the 15 minutes of time we have in the bottle here to make this a fair bit faster, which is hopefully going to get us a little bit of awakened draconium somewhat quickly. But on top of that, the main goal here is to try and get a bunch of awakened draconium seeds so that we can actually start to grow this maybe more quickly on our farm plot over here. If not, if we don't get any seeds here, we might just have to leave this going for a little while. Can I type in? I can type in draconium here, but it doesn't actually take me to the draconium, so I still have to do this horrible searching through this gigantic chest, which is a pain in the backside to do. But yeah, if we don't get any draconium seeds here, then we might instead just have to set up a bunch of botany pots with awakened draconium essence and come back to this at a future date, because yeah, we've not got any seeds from that. We can do this again, go up to 32x, but we don't have any time left in our bottle now to go past that. And so while we managed to get a little bit of awakened draconium essence, it's nowhere near what we're going to need, and we've yet to get a single awakened draconium seed, which is not ideal either. If I was to go ahead and craft this up, that only gets us nuggets as well. Jeez, okay, yeah, that's real expensive, because that means we're going to need a ton of awakened draconium essence to get the hundreds of awakened draconium blocks that we need. So I think for the time being, we might have to reevaluate our setup over here and put the infinite tier energy cube on the back burner until we have just a staggering amount of awakened draconium essence. Chat does make a good point in that we could make a few more awakened draconium seeds. They really, for us, just require insanium essence, which we do have a fairly large amount of, and we've got quite a lot of awakened draconium here, so we could make quite a lot of seeds and then use that to get even more essence. All right, so it's going to take us a long time. It looks like we need about 92,000 awakened draconium essence in order to craft the required about 400 blocks of awakened draconium that we're going to need in order to get the tier 8 Powerball. And so what I think I'm going to do instead is kind of pivot gears a little bit here and work on our power pot setup, because right now we have this giga chest with netherite on one side and inferium on the other, as well as a few nether stars at the back, and then of course now we have the tier 3 pot here with awakened draconium. So I am thinking that what I might do is 2 things. One, I want to upgrade all of these pots to the highest tier we can, which I think is going to be tier 2. As I've mentioned before, there's really not much point in going for the super high tiers because they're just not worth it. The second tier pot here is twice as good as the first tier pot, but it costs so much more. It costs way more than double. It goes from 136,000 EMC up to 10 million, right? It's 74 times as expensive and only twice as good. So it makes more sense to just put down more of the tier 1 power pots than to get the tier 2. And then the same is true again here. You only get a 50% bump from tier 1 to tier 2, so it's 1.5 times as good, but again, it costs a ton more. And so it's probably not worth going with tier 3 power pots, but I think what we might do is I think we should probably make more of them, start utilizing our other farmland plots here. And I also think we should do two other things. I think for the time being, I might turn off inferium farmland, which is only going to be temporary because going forward, we are going to need a ton of Insanium Essence in order to finish the pack. If we look at some of these creative recipes here, especially these creative storage upgrades, these all require creative essence, which requires a bunch of Insanium, and there are quite a few creative recipes that do require that creative essence, and so we are going to need a fair amount of it to finish the pack. But in the interest of getting as much EMC as we can, which is going to allow us to upgrade to the higher tier pots as fast as possible, I think what we should do is temporarily focus maybe solely on EMC. And along that line, people have been recommending that we get some dragon egg seeds, these guys right here, which allow us to get dragon egg essence, which you can craft into dragon eggs, and this is a higher value than the netherite seeds. Because the netherite seeds, they produce 50,000 EMC for, I think it's 8 essence. This right here is going to require 27 essence because you need 9 times 3, but you get more than triple what the nether star essence gets you. Here you get 262,000, which is over 5 times what you get from a nether star seed. And while you do have to do this into medium craft, it does still get you more EMC overall. And so to make these, we once again need more Insanium Essence, which we have. We also, of course, need a Prosperity Seed base. And then finally, we need 4 Dragon Scales. Did we get any Dragon Scales? We did. Fantastic. So if we were to head down here, we should, once again, be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4 with 1, 2, 3, 4, and this. I'm probably going to do that twice because we do have enough Dragon Scales to do that again. And much like with the Nether Star and the Awakened Draconium seeds, I'm fairly certain that these are not going to give us extra seeds on the farmland. I think we're going to have to rely on the power pots to give us those seeds. And so once again, I do need one more Prosperity Seed base here. Let me quickly grab that. And boom, there we go. We have a second Dragon Egg Seed. So we can start putting these in over here. If I take the Awakened Draconium seed out for the time being, and we do something like that, how many Awakened Draconium seeds did we get is my first question. I have an uncomfortable feeling that the answer is going to be 0. Yeah, we didn't get any, which is very unfortunate. Again, we can do something like this to accelerate the Dragon Egg seeds. And you'll see they do come in quite quickly. The idea here is that in an ideal world, we would go ahead and replace all of these with Dragon Egg seeds, but it really depends on how long it's going to take, I guess, for all of the Dragon Egg seeds to come in, because I have a feeling that much like with Awakened Draconium just there, we're not going to get a ton of them. But what we can do, of course, is we can go down to our crafter here, and we can add the Dragon Egg Essence to the puller module, like that, put that back in, like so. That should start bringing it over here, and over here we can just add 2 more recipes, and then if we do something like this, we want to make sure this is EXTC, and then apply, and then here, that is not right. Results of the crafting operation will go to, oh, that's not correct. I want this to be int. That's my bad. Let me swap that back. Let's take all of those out and put those back in here like this because we want them to be int. So it goes into the input buffer, apply, and then here, then we can go like this and leave it as normal, apply, and that should craft all of our dragon egg chunks into dragon eggs. And then those dragon eggs should go to the output buffer and then ideally straight into the energy condenser like that to be turned into dark matter blocks, which are then going to, of course, get sent around into our EMC link. So while we wait, I guess, to get more dragon egg seeds, one thing we can do is, I guess, add another dragon egg seed here. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go ahead and I think, like I said, replace all of the inferium and maybe temporarily the nether stars as well here with netherite just to get our EMC up. And I think we'll do the same on 2 more farmlands either side as well. We'll just make a ton more of the tier 2 power pots, because although they are less efficient than the tier 1 power pots from an EMC to output perspective, we do have 2 billion EMC, and so making a few stacks of these is going to be fairly straightforward, and we'll just kind of replicate the system that we have over there, producing even more netherite for now, but hopefully eventually dragon eggs to really try and pump our EMC generation to a point where we can potentially start to look at getting tier 3 pots. Because again, while they're not efficient from an EMC standpoint, if we can get to the point where taking a stack of tier 3 power pots out of the transmutation table is just as easy as it was for us just now to take a stack or multiple stacks of tier 2 power pots out, then at that point we will have enough EMC where we won't care about the fact that it's so expensive, if that makes sense. Unfortunately, the tier 4 power pots, whilst better, are a little trickier to make just because they don't have an EMC value, and it would mean that if we wanted to make over a stack of these, we would need to make a ton of Nether Star Cruxes, which require these Withering Souls, which are dropped by the Wither. I assume we have some of them in the system. We do, we've got 8 of them, but the number of Withers we'd have to kill to get the number of Nether Star Cruxes required to make a ton of tier 4 power pots means that we're probably just not going to use the tier 4 pots at all. Also, people in the YouTube comments have been asking why we're not using the Watch of Flowing Time. The Watch of Flowing Time would be very useful here. This is a fairly cheap item that allows you to massively accelerate the rate at which things work. However, unfortunately, we are playing on a Patreon server here, and the Watch of Flowing Time is disabled to prevent just a massive amount of lag. And so we are going to have to try and beat this pack, for now at least, without the benefit of the Watch of Flowing Time. Okay, so I've got the beginnings of the 2 new setups up and running here. For now, we are still using netherite seeds, but again, we're going to try and pivot over to dragon egg seeds once we have enough of them. But I've also changed the setup a little bit because I don't really like that this modular router isn't centered, because it can't be centered. So what I've done is I've put down 4 modular routers around the outside here, used the camouflage upgrade to make them look like blocks of netherite, so it matches with the rest of the base and all of the colored kind of stone caps that we have around the farms here. The only thing I've not done is I've not made more colossal chests underneath the farm plots. And the reason for that is that after some testing with the Twitch chat, it turns out we can use the distributor module here to kind of do what it is we want to do in a much easier way. So the distributor module, super easy. It's 3 Sender Mark IIs with a blank module. We already had all of those taught. And so what we can do is you can take the distributor module, and I'll grab a new one of these real quick. Let me go distributor. We're going to need 8 of these per farm plot. But if you take one, much like with the power modules that we have in here, the energy distributor modules, we can shift right click on 8 different power pots. And then in here, by default, it's set to transfer out of the router. But we can click this to make it transfer into the router, which is basically going to allow it to act as a puller to pull essence and seeds from all of these power pots into whichever router we put down. So if we put a router here, we can then put this in, and it's going to start pulling the essence. So you can even see it move it along, which I think is pretty cool, into the router. Now, the default range on this guy is 24, but we can increase that, of course, with range upgrades. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this, and we're going to move it downstairs to the chest. If we grab another diamond chest interface, what we should be able to do is put that interface down, let's say right about here, like that. Put the router down next to it, like this, and then if the distributor is connected, which it looks like it is, we can then put in some stack and speed upgrades, and that should, hopefully, begin moving everything out of the modular router nice and fast, just as soon as we take a sender module. Mark 1 or Mark 2 doesn't matter. This time, we're just going to set this to the right-hand side, place that in like so, and that should start taking all of the essence, as you can see there, out of all of the pots, and dumping it into this colossal chest. Nice. We can then take this further, though, because, of course, if we get more distributor modules, let me move basically everything out of here. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then, of course, with each one of these, we're just going to select a different row of power pots. And once we've got them all selected, we're going to just place all of these into here, and that should, in theory, if it's got enough range, start pulling from all of the power pots into the chest. And even if it doesn't have enough range, of course, we can come in here, we can type in range, we can grab a stack of range upgrades, and if we throw those into not there, let me try that again. We do need to take those range upgrades out of the chest, but this needs to go into, I think this might actually have to go into the module, right? It does. That is fine. It probably means we have to take each one of these and put the range augments into there, like that. But at that point, they should be good enough to pull all of the essence from all of those pots into this chest wirelessly. Oh, and of course, chat is right. Hold on, before we do any of that, I haven't set these to pull. Let me change that real quick. We're going to transfer into the modular router, not away from the modular router, because it's quite possible none of these need range upgrades, and I've just messed up here. Let me do that. I'll take all the range upgrades out. We'll put all of these back in. And right now, it looks like it's only taking from the first few rows. That could be because there's like too much essence, but it could also just be... Yeah, I think it's too much essence. It looks like it is getting there. Now it's on row 3. We'll see how far it goes. We'll see if it gets to all of the pots. If it doesn't get to the back ones, we can look at adding some range upgrades to it. But this is pretty nifty. And we're going to basically duplicate this exact same setup over on the other side as well to kind of triple up on our netherite production. And as I mentioned, I'm also going to swap out the inferium here for netherite as well. All right, so this is also working on the right-hand side now. So both of these are doing their job. No range modules were required at all. Like, it's working even without any range upgrades, which is fantastic. The problem that we're now running into is twofold. One is that our energy condenser just isn't fast enough to keep up here. You'll see it's not able to turn the netherite into dark matter fast enough. And the second problem is that our EMC link here is not fast enough to keep up with how much dark matter we are producing. Thankfully, there are solutions to both of these problems. The first solution is to swap out the energy condenser Mark 1 with an energy condenser Mark 2, which I think is fairly straightforward. The energy condenser Mark 2 here just requires some blocks of red matter and some blocks of dark matter. The blocks of red matter we don't have yet, but we can just take some red matter and craft that into block form, and then the blocks of dark matter, of course, are kind of our bread and butter in terms of EMC generation. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those. We'll put these all back in just a second. That gets us a Mark II energy condenser, and then that kind of leads us to the second solution, which is potentially just to replace dark matter blocks with red matter blocks. If we do that, the dark matter blocks have an EMC of 500,000, the red matter 1.86 million. We could also look at getting a higher tier of matter as well. The mod project expansion starts with magenta matter, which is, I believe, above red matter, and then goes all the way up to white matter. The magenta matter here is just red matter and Eternalis fuel, and so we could go ahead and do something like this. I don't know if you can craft magenta matter blocks. It doesn't look like you can, but we could go ahead and get a few more magenta matter. Let's say 3, I think is what we need to go up to pink matter. Yeah, we do also then need some magenta fuel, which seems easy enough. Let me see if I can't craft up 6 magenta fuel here. And if we did something like that gets us a pink matter, which has got 4.54 million EMC. So that's quite a lot more, almost 10 times as much EMC as the dark matter blocks. And so back over here, let's see if we can't make this usable. So I'm going to break the energy condenser here, which is going to spew a lot of items out. That's fine. I'm going to replace it with the Mark II, like this, and then we're going to put the pink matter in here. This one is quite nice in that it has designated inputs and outputs, so the left-hand side here is specifically for the input of netherite, and then the right side here is for the output of pink matter. Then we'll once again grab our pipe wrench, which I think I've placed away into the system, and we should be able to set that to extract, and it should start taking the pink matter and placing it into the EMC link. Obviously, right now, it's going to have a lot of pink matter, and it's not going to move it faster than we're putting this in, simply because of how much of a backlog there was here. But once we've cleared the backlog, I am hopeful that the pink matter will be of a high enough EMC value to where our measly little Mark 1 EMC link should be able to keep up. For example, if I take out the full stack here, this was the backup that we had, and I put this away, we're back up to almost 2 billion EMC, which is nice, but I am hopeful now that this is going to be fine. You'll see we're not making the pink matter that fast, and so we should be making less than 1 per second, and if we're making less than 1 per second, then this EMC link will be able to keep up. Over in here, let's have a look. Do we have any dragon egg seeds? I think we actually might. We do. We've actually managed to get 2 stacks of dragon egg seeds in that time. That is very useful, and in fact, it's actually the perfect amount that we need. That is fantastic. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just swap all of the netherite here out for dragon eggs, and I guess while we're at it, what I'll also probably go ahead and do here is grab the dragon egg out of here, And because we're going to swap every single one of the netherite seeds to dragon egg seeds, we can probably go ahead and do something like this and make all of our modular routers look like little powerful dragon eggs. Alright, so I think what I might actually do here, I've upgraded all these, by the way, with dragon egg seeds. So they're all doing their thing, and we're getting EMC, I think, faster than ever, which is good. But I think what I probably will do here, though, now, is maybe use this center platform for just awakened draconium seeds. We have started to get a few of those. Also, searching through here with all these seeds is a pain in the backside. You'll see how many dragon egg seeds we're getting now. It's insane. But these awakened draconium seeds are coming in. And so I think what I'll probably do is just start using this for awakened draconium essence. And what I'll also probably do is down here utilize this crafter that's also being used to make insanium essence to make the awakened draconium. So if you shift click, you can kind of unlock these slots. Right now they're locked to inferium, which is not what we want. We can come down here, and if we quickly grab some of the awakened draconium essence, I think we have some in the system. We totally do. We can then teach the crafter down here that 9 draconium essence equals a nugget. Again, this wants to be int, apply. We can then teach it that 3 nuggets, if we go ahead and put 9 in here, that should get crafted. It does. We can then teach it that, I guess 9 nuggets actually, that's my bad, makes 1 ingot, and then we can teach it that 9 ingots makes 1 block. Again, int on this one, apply. That should get crafted maybe right away. There we go. And then we'll do the same again once we have 9 ingots, and then we'll probably actually throw down some kind of chest maybe to actually store all of the blocks, because again, we do need hundreds of them, and we can only store 4 stacks, of course, in the output buffer of the crafter. So we are going to want to get a larger storage device to make that happen. One thing we can craft that holds a lot of items is a black hole unit. These go from common all the way up to supreme. The common version can hold 2048 items, with the supreme being able to hold 2.147 billion items, which is a lot more than we're going to need. I think for us, we'll probably go with this pity black hole unit that can hold 16,384 for now, because this one is very easy for us to make. It just requires a little bit of plastic, which we don't currently have. In fact, you know what? We're probably not going to need more than 2,048 for the time being, so I'm going to get the common one. We could look at upgrading these in the future, but for now, if I drop this common one down over here, what we can do is we can put this down like this, right? And if we get another puller and sender module, we can use those to pull from here through this same router and down again. So let me see, puller. We'll take a tier 1 version, and then sender. We'll take another tier 1 version. We'll set the puller here to left, and we're going to specify that we only want awakened draconium blocks. So we're going to say awakened draconium blocks, whitelist. And then with the sender, we're going to go down, again, whitelist, awakened draconium blocks. That's all that I want to go in there. And so now if I put both of these in, it should pull the awakened draconium blocks out of the output slot and put them into here. And this is going to slowly but surely count up until we have a ton of them. And we need about 378 to actually craft the next tier of ball. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, I'm going to fill basically all of these up. And I'll probably also use all of these as well. And on top of that, we can probably get a few more of these tier 3 pots. Not many. They are so expensive. So expensive. But right now, the EMC is just set doing nothing. And so I'll go ahead and craft 4 of those, leaving us with very little in the way of EMC. But these 4 are going to be a lot faster. I might also use a few of these for draconium essence as well, because we are also going to need like 700 blocks of draconium if we're going to get the tier 8 ball. So not only do we need a lot of awakened draconium, we also need a lot of just regular draconium as well. Okay, so now all of these center power pots are awakened draconium. We've got our awakened draconium capstones as well. It's going to take a little while still to get up to the 400-ish awakened draconium blocks that we need. We're at 80. And so I'm kind of thinking what I might do as a temporary measure is maybe just replace all of the dragon egg seeds with awakened draconium seeds. Again, we've got tons of them now. If I scroll down in here to the bottom of the chest, we've got stacks upon stacks upon stacks of awakened draconium. So in the interest of getting this tier 8 ball built, what I might do is temporarily replace all of these draconic seeds with awakened draconium seeds. And then once we've got enough awakened draconium, we can then go back and replace all of the awakened draconium seeds, even the ones in the middle, with the draconic seeds and get our EMC back online. Because right now, the only use of the draconic seeds for us is getting EMC to upgrade like one pot from tier 2 to tier 3, which has a benefit, but it's so small that it's almost not worth it. So real quick, I'm going to do this. That's going to cut the time required to get up to 400 blocks in like by 3. We're going to go from however long it takes now, which I think is like 50 minutes, to probably like 15 minutes, hopefully, if we have all 3 of these farms working on it. And I think during that 15 minutes, while we wait for these to grow, I'll do a bit of manual farming over here to try and get a staggering amount of regular draconium in the hopes that we should get everything we need for the tier 8 ball. All right, so way too much draconium farming later. We have a ton of draconium essence, over 30 stacks, which I think is what we need, and in that time we've managed to get 442 awakened draconium blocks. So now if I take my backpack, shift right click on the core, 33 stacks of draconium deposited into the system. Can I now craft just a ton of draconium and then draconium blocks? I think the answer is going to be yes. It might potentially be faster if we have the system do it for us, although if I fully empty my inventory out here, I think we can probably do this pretty quickly by just dumping the inventory over and over again like this. Like, we're already basically done here, and then it's just a case of crafting down the blocks, and at that point, chat, we should be good to go. And I think if we have done this correctly, we might have enough resources to just build a second ball. Initially, my thought process was going to be to upgrade the ball that we have, but if we get another energy core, which does require another wyvern core, which requires more draconium here, that is fine. We, of course, do have a staggering amount of draconium, and hopefully enough to make all of this happen and then some. So let's take a few more of these. Let's get another wyvern core. Let's see about making 2 more of these wyvern energy controllers. What are we missing? We are just missing 4 more draconium. There we go. And boom, the energy core is done. And so now we're going to take this down to our other energy ball, and we're going to make a matching energy ball. Let me also go ahead and grab, of course, the 400 blocks of awakened draconium that we need as well. And let's see, can we make this happen? Okay, so we've got down the energy core here, and I think the exact same spot as this energy core on this side. If we open this up and we go all the way up to tier 8 and click assemble core, I assume because it's working that we have the resources for it to do its job. And so hopefully that's just going to work. I don't know if it matters if I leave, like if I walk away here. I'm thinking about crafting up the energy core stabilizers, because once again, we do need 9 of these on each side, so we need 36 more of these in total, which means we're going to need quite a few more of those. It took all of my draconium. Unable to complete structure, missing required blocks. Oh, that is unfortunate. It looks like it kind of did the job, though. What are we missing, like... I don't know what we're missing. We're missing a few blocks. Oh, I don't know how many we're missing, though. I guess we're missing 1 block here. And 1 block here. And then maybe 2 blocks up here. We're missing a few blocks, but not many. Okay, we got 12 more blocks here. I don't know if that's going to be enough. So I think we're going to have to potentially dig down into the core, which I think is this block here. I am probably at the point where we could potentially look at switching up to a better pickaxe. For now, if I go to small tunnel, I think that might break all of this. It does indeed. Okay, so let's assemble core. If I do a quick /home here, that's hopefully going to take me out of the suffocation that I'm currently in. That did eat the remainder of the blocks, but we still don't have enough blocks to make it happen. That is very unfortunate. I don't know how many blocks we're missing, which is the very unfortunate part. I think what I might do then potentially is deactivate this core, temporarily steal some of the draconium from here. That is going to lose us some power, but I don't think it matters too much, because we can, between streams, go ahead and get some more draconium and use that to re-enable this ball. But given that we have 25 million FE per tick being generated, it's not going to take us long at all to refill and re-get back up to that 2.14 trillion. And so let's once again go back to small tunnel. Let's dig down until we hit the energy core. And then we should now, I think, have what it takes. Let's see if this actually assembles. And there we go. The ball is now done. So now all we need to do is craft down the remaining draconium that we have and get the remaining 31 energy core stabilizers, which means that first we're going to need 31 of these, which is probably going to use basically all of our draconium here. Again, just like at the start of the episode, we are now completely out of gold, and we'll drop all these back in. If we don't have enough draconium for this, which could well be the possibility, then we might have to look at stealing the energy stabilizers from the other orb. But I think we are good, actually, if we do this and this. That gets us 31 of these, and then we can upgrade those with the diamonds to get us more of these. Of course, diamonds do have an EMC value, so we can just take even more diamonds out of here, and that should be everything for the energy core stabilizers as soon as we get just the last couple of diamonds, because apparently I underestimated how many were going to be needed here. Kaboom! And now, if we go and put these down around the new ball, we should have, I believe, an energy sphere that is going to be able to hold an infinite amount of power. All right, the energy core stabilizers are down in here. Activate. Boom, we have an orange ball this time, and it can hold an almost infinite amount of redstone flux. That is maybe like 9 quintillion, 223 quadrillion, 372 trillion, 36 billion, 854 million, 777,807 redstone flux in total. Absolute madness. And of course, as we did last time, we can go ahead and shimmy these over to this side to allow the power to be sent into there and then used around the base. Between streams, I will go ahead and reallocate all of our farms down here back to draconic seeds. Right now, they're still all making awakened draconium. Obviously, we're probably not going to need that much awakened draconium going forward, so we'll swap these out for draconic seeds to get our EMC generation back up and running. I'll also do a little bit more draconium farming so that we can get the other ball back online as well, and then we'll have like a nice matching pair of mismatched colored balls, which will be, I guess, nice to have. And then next time, we'll come back and we'll start working probably towards getting this ultimate singularity, which is hopefully going to be doable. I did some back-of-the-napkin math before today's stream, and I think we need about 400 million EMC per ultimate singularity, which seems like a lot right now, but obviously once we get our draconic farms back up and running, we should start to see our number of EMC go up quite substantially, back up over the billion, and hopefully into the multiples of billions, which should hopefully make getting these ultimate singularities just that little bit easier. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Mystical Block there.